Hi, everybody. My name is Paul DeHaan, and I'm the Secondary Learning Coordinator in the Huron-Perth Catholic District School Board. I serve on the Secondary Curriculum Council of the Catholic Curriculum Corporation, and through the CCC, I'm honored to present this resource to you. 2 years ago, a group of educators and I wrote Faith and Science in our Ontario Catholic Schools, a document for secondary teachers in Ontario Catholic schools. The ensuring discussions that we've had over the last 2 years have been incredible. There's a definite interest from both teachers and students in how our faith informs our view of science and how science informs our faith. As before, we've noticed that when students aren't able to reconcile what they think, their reason, their knowledge, their rationale with what they believe, certain aspects of our Catholic faith, they often will choose one over the other. And we feel it's incumbent on us to incorporate both of these sources of truth into our worldview to bring us into a deeper understanding of our world and the God that created it. So we created this project. This is a project primarily for intermediate students, maybe grade 5, 6, 7, 8 in Ontario Catholic schools. It is a content module that will be housed in Ontario's virtual learning environment, Brightspace by D2L. And your technology-enabled learning and teaching contact in your school board can import it for you. So why don't I take you on a little tour and show you around. So this is the content page that you will get imported into your D2L shell. Basically, it's one folder that you can have added to any D2L course that you currently have. If you're not familiar with using D2L and that what I just said doesn't make any sense, please contact your technology-enabled learning and teaching contact, and they'll be able to help you out. So in this folder, we have a variety of subfolders. We have some introductory material on the project, an opening message from the Catholic Curriculum Corporation. We have some introductions from the writing team on exactly why we are doing this project, some acknowledgements, some prayers on science and faith together. Below that, we have a topic of general faith and science. So how does our faith and how does science generally relate to each other? We have such a rich history in our church of how these things relate to each other. We have many hundreds of years of an incredible dialogue between these two ways of knowing things, and especially in the last 50 years of how they can support each other. So we have information for students that they can go through and describe a long relationship, how we can use science as worship, a little bit on contextualism and how we read scripture, how and why content and form, those sorts of things that we experience when we look at scripture, and a little bit of a project at the end of that section as well. Each lesson is split up into a 3-part lesson model where we have minds on, we have action, and we have consolidation at the end. So you have kind of a minds on information, getting kids and students thinking about what's going on. We have action, we have something for them to do. They watch a video, they participate in a discussion, they look at a reading or some other text, they participate in any sort of other activity. And then there's a consolidation where they can actually do some work, submit some work to the teacher, interact with each other, that sort of thing. So as we go through, you'll see that all of the lessons are based on that. The next section that we have a section on the environment. We took a look at the curriculum expectations, the science curriculum expectations from the last few years in elementary school, and took a look at which areas in those expectations could be we could discuss from a Catholic point of view. And the 3 main areas that came up were the environment. It's in every single grade of the science curriculum. We have creation and outer space, kind of comes up, those ideas, as well as certain biological ideas, which we'll get to in a second. So in the environment, we have lots of great activities here. We were able to interview Father Greg Kennedy from the Ignatian Center in Guelph. And he did a whole lot of a great video with us, hosted by my colleague Tara Cakebread, on eco-spirituality and what that means. How does interacting with the environment and care for the environment really interact with our Catholic faith? So it's really, really interesting stuff to learn there. I learned a ton by listening to him, which is fantastic. Also, a lot of information on Laudato Si, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, and a recent encyclical from Pope Francis. Lots of videos, lots of pictures, lots of links for students to link out to do research, to understand these topics a little bit more. There's also different differentiated work that they can do. You can have a hands option, a heart option. I believe there's a head option up here. Lots of things that students can do. And again, there's lots of information for you to look through. Creation in Outer Space. We had the great fortune of interviewing Brother Guy Consolmagno, who is the director of the Vatican Observatory. We got to meet him and discuss his work, discuss how we use our faith to approach science, how science approaches faith, and everything in between. It was excellent. So we talk about creation. We talk about how we as Catholics can view creation, how we look at Genesis, what the Big Bang Theory, all those sorts of things, how those play in our understanding. What is the Catholic understanding of those things? We talked about Galileo, a wildly misunderstood event and tragic event in the Church's history. And we actually look at, again, back to some more care for our common world, space junk, which is actually a very interesting topic to look at, and students can find that quite engaging. And then for the biology topic, we look a lot at genetics. We look at cells. We look at how we interact with the biological world. So we start off with the dignity of the human person, and we go through that. This area of the project was done by Jonathan Berlingeri of the Peterborough, Victoria, Northumberland, Clarington Catholic District School Board. And he structured it in such a way that we start off with dignity, which is so important, the dignity of the human person. We get to genetics, and we learn about Gregor Mendel and what Catholic faith teaches us about working with genetics and inheritance. We look at some Catholic scientists and what they've done in the world. One of the interviews we have for this section is with Dr. Patrick Moynihan, who is a graduate of our Ontario Catholic system, who's now working in England. He leads a lab there that works on tuberculosis, which kills thousands of children every year in the developing world. Not only the developing world, but all over the place, and how his faith interacts with his work, and how he lives his faith through his work. Extremely really interesting guy, and it was great to be able to land that interview with him. We talked about bringing it all together. What does that mean in terms of biology in our Catholic faith? And at the very end, we asked some of our interviewees if they had a message for Ontario students who are studying science. What would it be? And some really great insights there for our students as they start to wrestle with ideas of what their faith tells them and what their rationale tells them. So if you're interested in this project to use in your classroom with your students, again, you need to reach out to your technology-enabled learning and teaching contact in your board, and they can import it into your course for you. There's lots of activities for students. There's assignments for them to do. There's some projects that they can work on, and really there's some information that they can start to integrate those two ideas and see how we as Catholics can work on our understanding of the world, both through a faith lens and through a scientific lens. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My name is Paul DeHunt, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.